Melissa here from foodandloathing.com. I wanted to make a video about how you journal your way to better blood sugars if you have type 1 diabetes. This might also be true for type 2 diabetics, but I don't have really very much familiarity with that. I just know that I keep my blood sugars very low. My hemoglobin A1Cs are consistently below 6. And I'm a vegan, but even when I wasn't a vegan, I always kept my hemoglobin A1Cs very low using this method. I mean, I hope that you'll consider going vegan for other reasons, for health reasons that don't relate to diabetes, but this is true for all type 1 diabetics. No matter what you eat, in my opinion, the best way to get control over your blood sugars is to seriously keep track of them and learn how much insulin you need depending upon whatever it is you eat. So many years ago, I bought these types of journals from Five Below, and I've been using them ever since. And I don't journal all the time, but I journal a lot of the time, especially if anything seems to be going out of control, if I seem to be having a problem where like for instance, if I'm waking with high sugars, like what prompted me to journal the most recent time was that I kept waking with high sugars, and so I was like, well, time to start journaling again. And when you journal, not only do you learn how much insulin is the right amount for you, but you also I find that it sort of gets you to eat better in order to, you want to impress yourself. That's my experience anyway. I don't know that that will be everybody's experience, but and because of this, whenever I journal, I tend to eat. I might even eat less, and that's not really good. My intention is never to lose weight. I have a good weight, but I do sometimes weigh myself and track my weight. And my intention of doing that is really to not lose weight. But I understand that other people might be looking to lose weight, and I think that if you are, this is probably a pretty good way to help you with that as well. But at the same time, like, I remember when I was a kid, I used to read these books about like people with eating disorders, and I would see that they were journaling food, and I was like, oh, well, I journal food sometimes, and I don't think I have an eating disorder, and I don't, I would never restrict what I eat purposefully. So I don't want you to think this is some sort of obsessive weight loss thing. It's nothing like that. My intention is really to maintain my weight. So when I track my weight, it's because I'm making sure that I don't lose weight, as I sometimes tend to do when I journal. So I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, and I got diabetes when I was 8 years old, and they used to want me to keep a journal of what I ate and what my blood sugars were, and I never did it. And also your insulin. Really, more than anything else, that's what they wanted. Your sugars and your insulin. They didn't really care about what you ate all that much, which isn't too helpful in my opinion. But they used to give us these little books, and those books were stupid. They had specific spaces for lunch, dinner, and I still don't necessarily eat according to 3 meals. And also when I was a kid, at least, it was always this big thing like, oh, you're supposed to have a snack at this time, you're supposed to whatever. I couldn't live like that, and I still can't, and I'm a little bit naturally rebellious, and those books were just garbage. So you want to get yourself a book that works for you, whatever kind of book you prefer. This is the kind of book I prefer because you can put a pen in the spiral and it'll keep your place, and I don't know. This works for me. Whatever works for you is fine, and you don't have to do it the same way that I do it. The point is just to find a system that works for you and that you can stick with. So on this day, alright, so let me tell you, I'm unemployed. I sleep very late, and I go to bed very late, so it's a little bit embarrassing. Also, I don't eat 100% terrific all the time. Like, people will judge me about the fact that I eat equal, which is, NutraSweet. But you have to understand, when I was a kid, I mean, it was like, they switched me off of sugar, and I started to eat equal with things. And I recognized that, okay, it might be time to stop now, and I will. I really will. I intend to stop. I intend to stop using equal, but you know, at some point I looked into it, and I was to decide, oh, is this really necessary that I stop using equal? And I looked at like nutritionfacts.org, which is Dr. Greger's site, to see what he had to say about NutraSweet, and it would seem to me that scientific studies don't indicate that people get cancers from this. That the only negative effect that equal and other sweeteners seem to have is that they might cause weight gain. So, I mean, that's not a great thing. If you want to avoid weight gain, then, you know, that's worthwhile to avoid. And also just the fact that there is this weird chemical that you're eating, and then it's affecting your metabolism. I mean, that probably isn't good, but I mean, and eventually I'll stop. But a few years ago, I mean, and I say a few years ago, but really it has to be like 6 years ago, I bought an enormous amount of equal from like Amazon.com, and it was in this giant box. And then I've moved 3 times since then. I've brought it with me everywhere I went, you know, and it's still nowhere close to being used up. But so please don't judge me, but I won't judge you about what you eat. You don't judge me about mine. You know, I mean, I would like it if you would go vegan, but other than that, I won't judge you. So let me take you back to Sunday, May 25th. Here's my journal. This is how I do it. You might want to do it differently, but this is how I do it. So at 8 a.m., my blood sugar was 110. I had a cup of puffed barley, which is, I like those kinds of cereals that only have one ingredient, and the ingredient is what the name of the cereal is. So I like to eat like puffed barley. I like to eat like puffed Kamet. Those are the only kinds of cereals I'm really down with, and you can think it's boring if you want. And frankly, I add a little bit of sweetener to it as well as fruit, but I would like to get off of the sweetener addiction, as I told you. But I had a cup of puffed barley and a banana, and then I had 2 tablespoons of ground flaxseed inside of that cereal, and I had probably a half a pack of equal. And then at 11, and I gave myself two units of Humalog for it. And then at 11:15, I had a banana, and at 12:15, I didn't give myself any insulin for it. I must have been feeling low if I ate that banana without testing or anything. 12:15, my blood sugar was up to 133, and I gave myself a half of a unit of insulin. And this day, I know I was bicycling quite a bit, and that's even why I was up at 8 a.m., which is like unheard of for me these days. But at 1 p.m., I had a sandwich that I made it was a zucchini, spinach, sun-dried tomato that's mixed with pine nuts, roasted red pepper, and all of that on a roll. That, if I remember correctly, those rolls were 40 grams of carbohydrates. And then I also had some carrots with hummus. I was bicycling around, so I had only 4 units of insulin for it. Normally I might have a little bit more than that, but due to the bicycling, I did it lower. And then at 3:30 or so, I had another banana because, again, with the bicycling around, I think my blood sugar went low. And I didn't test. I mean, it's good to test, but if you're like me and you don't have a lot of money for test strips, you sometimes might skimp a little on testing when low, depending upon the circumstances. So at 4 p.m. or so, that's how I wrote it. I mean, that's the thing. You want to write it the way that you're comfortable. And I wrote 4 p.m. or so. I said that I had a half of a smoothie, which this smoothie because I shared it with somebody else. So I had a half of a smoothie that had a banana, a mango, a pineapple, some pineapple. I think it actually just had mango bits, pineapple bits, the juice of an orange, some chia seed, some cantaloupe, some almond milk, some spinach, and I had some more carrots with hummus, and I had 3 units of insulin for that. But then by 6 p.m. my blood sugar was down to 47, and I had a banana. And at 9:30 p.m. it was up to 147, and I gave myself 3 units of insulin. Only one would be enough to bring it down to normal, but in that way I was able to cover also the food I was about to eat, which was chorizo potato tofu hash, this food that I made with sriracha and with half of an avocado. And at 10:20 and on, during that time, I ate 1/4 of a cup of unsalted peanuts, and I counted 37 olives. Very high fat. But I don't care. So at 11:45, my blood sugar was up to 135. I gave myself a unit of insulin. And then at 12:45 in the morning, I gave myself 12 units of Lantus. And at 1:50, before going to bed, my blood sugar was 102, and snooze time, right? Good blood sugar to go to bed with. So my average blood sugar that day, I highlight all my blood sugars, and my average blood sugar was 112.33, and the amount of Humalog that I used for the day was 13.2. And I am going to change this. You know, for a really long time I've been writing down the total amount of Humalog, but I failed to, I don't include the Lantus in it, but in the future, I think, probably even starting today, I am going to add the Lantus and the Humalog together and say my total amount of insulin used for the day. I think that's more useful information somehow. So the next day, Monday the 27th, I weighed myself that day. I probably weighed myself at the end of the day. I weigh myself just to make sure I'm not losing any weight. 109 is actually on the high side of what I tend to weigh, which is just fine. That's good. 10 a.m. my blood sugar was 86. Perfect waking sugar, just what you want, under 100, but above 60, above 70. Okay, at 11 a.m. I had another cup of puffed barley cereal, ground flaxseed, banana, almond milk, some equal, coffee with almond milk, and equal. So, and, you know, I had the same thing yesterday, and it had made me go low, but I still gave myself 2 units of insulin the same amount. Why didn't I change it? I don't know. I did change it in the days to come, but I gave myself the same exact amount of insulin that I had used the day before for that. And once again, at 1 p.m., I went low from it, but this time I only had 1/2 of a banana, because yesterday when I did that, I had a whole banana and my blood sugar went up to 133, which is a little too high. This time it was 1/2 a banana, and then, but you can tell actually that I still was a little low, because at 3:15 I didn't test my blood sugar, which is usually an indication of low blood sugar for me. So at 3:15 p.m. I had a smoothie of 1 banana, some mango, some pineapple, blueberries, juice of an orange, almond milk, flaxseed, spinach, and a date, and I had 3 units of insulin for it. At 4 p.m. I had 1/4 of a cup of roasted unsalted peanuts. At 5:30 p.m., I mean, again, all of this indicates low blood sugar, the lack of testing. At 5:30 p.m., 4 carrots with hummus, and homemade hummus, of course, and I gave myself 2 units of insulin for it. At 8:45 p.m., my blood sugar was 139. I gave myself a unit of insulin. At 11:30, my blood sugar was 137. I gave myself a unit of insulin. Trying to get it down, keeps creeping on up. All that fat, the peanuts will do it to you. All the nuts. Okay, 12:15 in the morning, I had 28. I counted them, which is about 1/3 of a cup of sesame sticks. I gave myself 1.5 units of insulin for it, and at 1 a.m., 1/2 of a banana. I must have been going low. No, probably not actually. I probably just felt like snacking. And then I had 1/2 of a unit of Humalog, and I had my 12 units of Lantus. And at 2 a.m., my blood sugar had gone low to 68, and I had 1/4 of a cup of the homemade strawberry vanilla bean ice cream that I was talking about. My average blood sugar for the day, and you know, this is the average blood sugar of what I tested, but it was probably quite lower than this. My average blood sugar is 107.5, but I didn't test any times that I went low. Well, not any time. Sometimes I do, but I don't test every time I go low. So, you know, this is just for your own knowledge and not to be a medical. You don't know your real average blood sugar from this. It's better to base that off of your hemoglobin A1c. The next day, I woke up with a pitch perfect blood sugar, 100. Had my same food, and I gave myself the same amount of insulin for it once again, but this time it didn't go low from it. You know, the mysteries of blood sugar. You know, why did this time I not have to eat a banana later after eating the same exact food I'd had the previous 2 days, giving myself 2 units of insulin? I mean, in my opinion, it's a little better to go a little bit low and just adjust up. But you might feel differently than that. I prefer to adjust up by eating more fruit than to adjust down all the time, to have to be continually giving yourself shots. It's more pleasant to eat than to give yourself shots. It's also, you know, it's better for your health. You want to have lower blood sugars. I mean, let's just face it. I mean, it can be scary to have a serious low blood sugar, and certainly I've had those, but not usually during the day. During the day I can feel them, and I can just eat something. But if I'm asleep, then it's a different story. You got to be more careful while you're asleep. Okay, so at 2 in the afternoon, 2:20, I had some of that chorizo potato hash with my 1/2 an avocado and the sriracha. I gave myself 2 units of insulin. At 3:30, my blood sugar was 73. At 4:30, I had a smoothie, banana, peach, some mango and pineapple, 2 full charred leaves, some flax seeds, some ground flax seeds, some strawberry vanilla bean ice cream. Yeah, why not just throw some of that in there? Yummy. Lots of cantaloupe, juice of 2 small oranges, and some almond milk. And I gave myself 3 units of insulin for it. All of that. And it worked. 5:45 p.m., 87 was my blood sugar. At 8:30, for some reason, I think I was feeling low, and I remember I went for a bicycle ride right out. I should have tested before I went, but sometimes, especially if I'm running out of strips, it's really hard to convince me to use them up on what I feel is low. But sometimes you can't trust yourself, which is unfortunate. And this was a time when I should have. But at 8:30, I had a half a banana and I bicycled somewhere. And then at 9:15, my blood sugar was 212. I gave myself 2 units of insulin, and then I had some beers. I had 2 beers, and I also had a rum and Diet Coke, which I know the Diet Coke, it's no good. I've been switching to beer. It actually, I mean, whatever. We'll talk about that some other time. But and I gave myself 2 units of insulin for it. For me, it tends to be per beer. You need a unit of insulin. Depends on the kind of beer, but the kinds I drink. 12 a.m. 98. 1:45 a.m. 100. Gave myself the Lantus for the night. I had about 2 tablespoons of the roasted unsalted peanuts, and then in the middle of the night at some point, I had a glucose tab. I just kind of woke up, rolled over, popped one, went back to bed, worried about my teeth for a second because I can't imagine that that's a good thing to eat and then sleep. But average blood sugar for the day, 111.66, total amount of Humalog, 11, and my weight dropped to 105.5, which is always a bit of a cause for concern, but not that much. As long as it doesn't go under 105 and it doesn't go over 110, I know that I'm in my normal weight range. And by the next day, it went back up to 107.5. And so that's how I do it. You don't need to go through every day with me. It's kind of boring, but you know, this is what works for me, and I keep very good blood sugars, and I feel that no matter what you eat, if you are the kind of person who cooks food at home, who tends to repeat meals, if you're not that kind of person, you should become that kind of person. Start cooking, start repeating your meals, so that you know. I mean, it's you have to make a trade-off in life, so you don't have as much freedom as other people, but it's not as though you can't just run. I mean, I'm not perfect. Sometimes I run a high sugar, like, yes, today I woke up with a blood sugar of 380 after going to bed with a blood sugar of 91. And, sometimes these things are just mysterious, I mean, that said, if you want to eat and other things and run and have the danger of running worse blood sugars, I mean, that's your choice to make, and I understand it, and I've done that quite often, but I still feel that you should journal it, and in that way, maybe you'll order the same thing out again. I mean, I don't know it just is helpful. It's helpful to learn how different foods affect you, and it's like, it took me a long time to notice that, eating nuts. I'm a vegan. I don't. It used to be when I would eat meat. I mean, my blood sugar would rise and rise and rise and rise for so many hours, and I couldn't stop it. And I'm still on multiple daily injections. I understand other people, they can do their pump. It can give you insulin slowly, and that's really cool and convenient. But it's far less expensive to give yourself shots, and you can maintain really good blood sugars even doing it this way. And I recommend it, frankly. I mean, especially if I don't have health insurance. I just want to be healthy. And this is how I do it. This is how I've always done it. I have really good hemoglobin A1Cs, and if ever I didn't, I would switch up. I would change, because high blood sugar is unpleasant, and I don't want to be sick. I want to live forever. So that's how I do it. If you have any questions, you can email me at melissa@foodandloathing.com, and I will be happy to answer your questions, or leave a comment below. However you operate on the internet these days, I'll reach out in that way. All right. Thank you for watching this far, and have a good day.